During the early access beta, I spent a lot of time with Sorcerer because I had so much fun with a particular build, which in this video I would like to share with you guys, a super aggressive lightning build which heavily focuses on single target and AoE damage with crits, crackling energy. It's super satisfying to take down your enemies with it, while it also has a lot of forgiveness, as not only is it very aggressive, but also makes you pretty tanky. So in this video, I'm gonna share everything you need to know about it, from the skill tree to the items and bonus effect used to get the best out of this build. Let's get right to it. What I really like about this build is that all the essential and core abilities are unlocked early game, so you can start using this from a low level, while the more advanced stuff are passive skills which you can build on depending on your level to get more crit chance procs, deal even more damage. And there are many different ways and you can do this depending on your playstyle. Alright, so here we are in the early access open beta still. You can tell that most of my spells are lightning, some of them are frost, while we have 3 defensive spells. And this is a super aggressive build, so let's get to the talents before we talk about the gear. The basic attack which we roll with is Spark. Launch a bolt of lightning that shocks an enemy 4 times with a pretty nice amount of damage. While if we upgrade this one, we can have a 20% chance to hit 3 additional targets, deal even more damage. If there are no other targets, it will deal more damage to the primary target. But if we upgrade this one to Flickering Spark, we also get a 3% chance to form Crackling Energy. This build heavily relies on Crackling Energy, and trust me, it's a lot of fun if you get the maximum out of it. So let's move on to the next abilities. Chain Lightning is our core ability which we use for this one. To unleash a stream of lightning, deals damage between different enemies, and it also bounces from one to the next. With Enhanced Chain Lightning, we get a 3% increased crit chance per bounce. So the more it bounces, the more chance you crit. And with the Destructive Chain Lightning, you get a 25% chance to form Crackling Energy as well when it crits. So more and more Crackling Energy right here. Moving on to the defensive skills, this is where the build starts to become very interesting. So first off, we have Teleport. This one makes you unstoppable and search to a certain location to deal damage upon arrival. Very nice to break slow snares and traps, but also to engage in big enemy groups. Because if you upgrade this one to Enhanced Teleport, you will reduce your cooldown for 0.5 seconds for every enemy hit. So you can dramatically decrease that, while with Mystical Teleport, you also add Crackling Energy, hitting 2 additional enemies. So yeah, you can tell that this one becomes pretty powerful if used aggressively, while we also want to go with Glass Cannon right here to deal more damage. Also take a little bit more damage, but it's definitely worth the sacrifice, while we're gonna have plenty of defenses at our disposal. Don't you worry about that. So next up, we have Ice Armor. This will give you a barrier, a very nice shield, which already absorbs a ton of damage, while if you have it active, you can add more to your barrier depending on the amount of damage you deal. And since with this build we deal a ton of damage, more will be added to it. The second upgrade though is super interesting as well. If you have the armor active, you will also increase your mana regeneration by 25%. So you can just keep spamming your spells, especially the Chain Lightning. And yeah, with our third defensive ability, we also freeze all the enemies around us. So yeah, you can already see a pattern right here. We first dash in with Teleport aggressively, deal damage with that Crackling Energy, add that shield to become a little bit tankier, start dealing damage, and if enemies are annoying, you can always just freeze them. And I think you don't really have to upgrade this one, it's already good either way it is, as our final ability in this defensive tree is our Elemental Attunement. Lucky hit. Crit strikes will have a 15% chance to reset the cooldown of one of your defensive skills, which happens every 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds with this chance to crit, one of those can be reset. So you can reset your shield, regenerate more mana, you can reset your teleport to aggressively search to another location, and of course also get the Frost Nova back. which makes this a very viable build for both defense and aggressiveness. On the conjuration skills, I only have Lightning Spear right here, which only has 20-second cooldown and deals a ton of damage to all the enemies around you. It's like a Heartseeker missile, just bounces from one target to the next. If you enhance it, you can stack the critical strike chance as well for its duration, which makes it so much more powerful. While if you collect Crackling Energy, it can also increase the damage of your next Lightning Spear up to 100%, which makes it even more interesting. Anyways, mastery skills, primarily passive ones. This one is part of my armor, which we don't use, but here we have Static Discharge. Critical strikes with shock skills, which we have plenty of, have a 50% chance to also form Crackling Energy, so even more added to that, while if we absorb those, you can also gain mana. I only spent 1 point in this, as we already destroy enemies fast enough on this difficulty, but you can increase this one a little bit more if you want to absorb more mana. I don't really think it's necessary, as we already have plenty of mana to spam our Chain Lightning, while the Lightning Spear doesn't cost any of that, and 3 of our abilities are all free to cast as well. The Teleport, the Ice Armor and Frost Nova, while you can already reduce or instantly reset the cooldown with these abilities. Now, for the skill assignment, I have Frost Nova at 1, Teleport at 2, Ice Armor at 3, Lightning Spear at 4 because of its cooldown, then Spark left mouse, Chain Lightning right mouse. Of course on console it's going to be different, but you also want to know which enchantment you want to go for. This is a pretty interesting one, the enchanted effect of the Lightning Spear. If we place it in there, you can see that absorbing Crackling Energy has a 10% chance to conjure a Lightning Spear, so another one for free, but only has a 10% chance, and that also only if we find or pick up the Crackling Energy. Most important thing for this build is you want to find as many of those energies in the first place. So in that case, I recommend you to go with the Spark, as this one, for killing an enemy, also gives you a 10% chance to form Crackling Energy. So let's move on to a little bit of combat. Right here you can see that I usually engage with my Teleport, then spam my Frost Nova and Ice Armor to become a little bit tanky, don't take hits right off the bat, while the shield can already build up, let's say, for all the damage I'm dealing to my enemies, while every time when I defeat some of those, they have a chance of dropping the Crackling Energy. If you pick it up, of course, it will deal more damage to everything around you. You literally become an electricity Pokemon overcharged. I think it's a lot of fun, but yeah, that is pretty much it for this build. It's awesome if you reset the cooldown of one of your defensive spells, so you can just keep spamming your Teleport, your Frost Nova or your Armor to either CC your enemies or get a shield and regenerate your mana faster, so you can keep spamming Chain Lightning, while I usually also always use my Lightning Spear when it's on cooldown. I mean, it only has a 20-second cooldown. You will probably have it ready for every major encounter, let's say, while with this build you can literally jump from one place to the next. And you want to make sure you do that as much as possible as well, so you can constantly form the Crackling Energy. With it, more crit chance, you can deal damage to as much targets as possible. And yeah, I just think it's very satisfying to reset those cooldowns, and if the crits proc, wow, you can deal a lot of damage. Now, for the items, I played Sorcerer for quite some time, and while I don't have a full set of legendaries, let's say, I do have an idea of which items can contribute very well to this build. When hit while not healthy, you will summon a magical bubble, which is very nice. Can only happen every 90 seconds, but this can definitely save you from death in sticky situations or even boss fights. While I also have casting Ice Armor, makes you unstoppable right here. Very nice one if you want to become a little bit tankier. Taking direct damage also has a 7% chance to reset the cooldown of one of your defensive skills, which works very nice in combination, of course, with this ability right here. Attacking enemies with basic attacks increase the damage of your next core skill cost by 10% up to 50. So if you use your basic attacks a lot, well, that Chain Lightning is gonna hit like a truck. I really like this ring effect as well. Deal 28% increased damage while you have a barrier active. And yeah, the Ice Armor basically gives you that barrier. The more damage you deal, the better this barrier becomes. And Yeah, when you have that barrier active, you will deal more damage, so this contributes to it very well, while the final ring will also allow you to deal more damage to vulnerable enemies if you have a barrier active. And since we can reset the cooldown of the ice armor, you can get this increased damage boost almost all the time. There are probably more very awesome bonuses which you can get your hands on in the full release, but this already gives you a good idea of how you can unlock full potential, let's say, for this build. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this build. If you found it helpful, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like as it helps out the channel big time. Very much appreciated. If you were able to test it during the beta, let me know in the comments down below as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, I've got plenty more builds coming your way, so make sure to subscribe if you want to stay in the loop with future videos. Right now though, it's 4 AM out. Have an awesome day. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.